We just got 45,000 in funding. Ah, the Switch development kit is here! The game is just not coming together. Fuck, we're not making progress. And just some visibility issues. Let's see what's happening anymore. Hi, hello. Let's start from the beginning. In 2018, Joseph and me were still at Spell Collectivet and were learning ClickTeam Fusion. ClickTeam Fusion, if you don't know, is this clunky visual scripting engine that Joseph and me used to make a lot of game jam projects and also a bunch of prototypes. Then things changed and we moved back to Munich and my fridge got lifted out of my old apartment by a crane because that's just how you have to move shit when you live on the 4th floor. Joseph and me moved in together, we founded our company, we were now full-time self-employed game developers, which brings us to the 45,000 government grant. In 2018, the German government announced that they wanted to fund a bunch of German game dev studios so that they could hopefully become part of this tiny little industry called the games industry. So we filled out the paperwork. Oh my god, so much paperwork. And got confirmed that we could start development in July 2020. What? In that time, we had already worked with our current programmer Uzia as a freelancer, so he took our janky-ass ClickTeam prototype and remade it in Gamemaker. This is the state of the project when we started. It was just going to be a simple line puzzle where you draw a line from point A to point B through some monsters. All the levels had to be auto-generated because I didn't want to do level design, Joseph didn't want to do level design. And that was the state of the project when we started. It all goes downhill from here pretty much. So we started off by taking our simple line puzzle idea and elevating the gameplay. So yesterday Joseph and me got the newest prototype of Puzzle Dungeon and we really like the mechanics so far. Things are not very clear. Wait, let me show you. In the game you always damage the monsters next to you. So here I'm doing damage, here I'm doing damage, and then I can just go. You can watch these numbers go up and down based on the attack number. So that is not really clear. So you would think that you have to go through the monsters, but if you go through them, your character actually takes damage. That is not very clear. So Joseph and me are currently working on figuring out the user interface. Like if your character loses health, like if you were to end your turn here, like let me show you, your character gets damaged here on the card. So currently we're trying to figure out how to showcase damage, and then you can always go back into a different route. What we had done is change the puzzle mechanic from just simply drawing a line to drawing a line next to monsters and just making the whole thing more complicated. So yeah, that's it. That's what we're working on. But yeah, we're both super happy at the moment. It felt really cool to play. It was just... We maybe just have to do some mock-ups so that everything's clear. Yeah, even though it's just a super simple prototype right now, I really like the gameplay so far. Yeah, that's it. Yesterday evening, we had a call with our former game design professor. The initial idea for Puzzle Dungeon was a simple line puzzle game where you can slay monsters and get some loot, and that was it. So, with the new iteration that we have now, where the characters have stats and like when you draw the line, they damage the monsters next to the line. Like those are all concepts that are harder to explain. The vision for the game was to create something that can be played and enjoyed by a casual audience. However, for people that want to get into, like really want to get into it and like have a challenge, that they can be challenged. Because that was something that we didn't have with Cats Organized Neatly. So we asked our former professor if he had some time to just call with us and like just talk with us about some of the mechanics.
Das macht es halt auch wieder voll kompliziert. Also ich glaube, ich würde das dann doch so machen, wie ihr es auch bei dem Cats, glaube ich, gemacht habt. Also du hast halt immer so ein Chapter und in dem Chapter sind halt 5 Floors. Wenn du einen Floor gemacht hast, ist der halt unlocked und abgeschlossen und dann haben wieder alle Full Health und du spielst den nächsten.
Talking to him has really helped us figure out the direction that we want to go in. Because we were also thinking, do we do like a roguelike where you start and then you play until you're dead? Or is it gonna be like a world map where you have multiple dungeons and stuff? And yeah, just talking to him and like bouncing these ideas off of him really helped. And he also had some really cool ideas for mechanics. We're gonna let all of these thoughts sink in for a bit. I'm mainly gonna work on the art for a couple days and then we're gonna meet with our programmer and talk through everything. Yeah. So I didn't film this, but the past couple of days I've been trying to figure out the style of the game. I just looked at a bunch of other games and tried out different proportions, different sizes, and kind of settled on one that I like now. Today I did the first mock-up in full color with 3 different character designs, and yeah, some monsters, and I really like it so far. It obviously has some problems with like the monster color being too close to the red character color, and just some visibility issues. Step 1 is gonna be in the next couple of days that I'm gonna simplify the designs. So I'm gonna throw out everything that's not needed. So yeah, look forward to that this week. So before, the monsters were very scribbly, and yeah, I just simplified them, simplified all the shapes. And now I kind of did the same for the characters, but this is just, it reads way clearer, especially if we zoom out and if it's gonna be like super small on screen later. Oh yeah, I also have this one animated now. I tweaked the colors on the mock-up, so now you can tell the characters and the monsters apart. So now I'm gonna simplify all of the characters, put them in there, and then we can hopefully see everything clearly. It's even happening anymore. Yesterday I asked one of my friends who does UI and UX design to help me figure out this damage dealing situation. And we had this really cool idea with these arrows. And it works fine for, like, this looks okay. I tested it over here and it still looked okay. Then I gave the monsters some hit points and I thought, oh, if the monster's HP is at the bottom of the monster sprite, then what happens if a monster is positioned behind a character, like if a character is here and then the monster is up here. And that works, like I can still tweak the sizes, not a problem. But then what if they deal damage? Because if it's handled like it is up here with the arrows, then that is gonna go over the HP marker. So I thought, oh, I'm just gonna do it like this. And I think this looks cool. And it still works with this yellow arrow, and yeah, I was happy. And then I was like, oh yeah, but then this monster and this player, they also attack one another, so let me just add another arrow. And okay, now it's getting a bit messy, a lot of numbers, but then what happens if a character were to stand here? So then you would have another arrow going over here and then another arrow going over here. At the moment, the only way that I can think of to solve this whole thing is use these arrows from up here and put the monster HP, instead of having it down here, putting it up here. I don't want to do that because I really like that the monsters are sitting on these little plates. So yeah, I'm kind of stuck with this UI thing at the moment. I really think that the arrows are the way to go for if it's just damage from character to monster and the character is not next to the monster, because that's obviously that is how you want to play. I'm gonna call it quits for today and maybe get some animation work done. So at this point we had pretty much designed ourselves into a corner. We had all of these cool ideas for like how the level map should look, how the level progression was gonna happen, animations, but it just wasn't coming together. Neither unique visuals, nor more mechanics, nor better UI were going to fix our problem, which was the core of the game, which was the game design. Well, good morning. Just going to get some breakfast and just getting some fresh air. Yesterday, Musia, our programmer, sent us a version with a file where Joseph and me can tweak some of the values, because we're at that point in development where we are very, very stuck. And we have kind of a game loop, but like the levels don't really have a win condition. So now we just put a win condition in, and now we can just tweak some of the values and hope that it's fun. Hi, welcome to the kitchen. So the past couple of days I have been playing around with the prototype that we've gotten. Hold on, let me get a knife. And right now it's made in a way that you just have to survive for 5 rounds. And then after those 5 rounds, door opens and you just have to kill as many enemies in those 5 rounds and just get as much gold as you can and then get the hell out.
I love gold!
I can also change these 5 rounds to 10 rounds or like just 2 rounds, but hear me out. It's very unsatisfying to just kill some monsters, get the gold, and then get out. I want to change the goal to you have to kill all of the monsters. Some monsters respawn, so you have to kind of plan ahead for that there's gonna be like 4 more monsters spawning. And the goal is to take the least amount of turns for killing all the monsters. If you're a casual player, you're gonna take 10 turns, kill all the monsters, and like, you don't give a shit. But if you're somebody who wants to play good, get a high score, complete something, get a loot multiplier, something along those lines, then you can kind of strategize. It's the weekend now, and oh yeah, we're also in lockdown, by the way, again, yay! Yeah, hopefully during the next week we will figure out the direction for the rest of the gameplay and then knock it out of the park. Wish us luck. We are at that part of the game development process where we kind of have a vague idea of what we want to do, but the base game idea kind of didn't work out as intended. Yeah, I've had this with probably every project. There is like 2 major hurdles. The first one is when you have a vague game design idea or you change your game design to be different, which was our case, and then you don't know how to continue, and it just feels like there is so many like elements to it that you don't know, that you feel overwhelmed. And like the second part, which I'm sure we'll get to in this video, is when you are kind of done with the game, but there's the last like 10% or so. Those take forever, like the polishing. But yeah, now we're at this first major hurdle, and okay, so our gameplay was that you just had to hold out with your characters for a couple of rounds, and then you could just kind of run away through a door that magically appeared, which we now changed. You now have to slay all the monsters in as little turns as possible. Joseph and me had this meeting because I think he was getting very stressed for the fact that we didn't really make huge progress. I was more concerned on how you finish just one level, like what is from the beginning to the end, what's the goal? And he was also concerned with like all of the rest, like how is our level structure going to be? Is it a roguelike? Can you save, or is it just like one run? And like, how many characters do we have? We were thinking about 2 different problems and none of them got solved. So I've been working on another project this whole day and I'm kind of tired, but the programmer just sent over. Wait, can I flip the camera? Our programmer just sent over this build, and as you can see, whoop, I'm not used to filming with a phone camera. As you can see, it already has animations! So yeah, the way that this works is the game tells you how many enemies you have left to kill, and how much gold, what your gold multiplier is. And what also happens is if you end your turn on one of these shadowy thingies, wait, let me actually show you. Your character just dies because that's where an enemy spawns the next turns. But yeah, also the visuals are a bit nicer. And we have this dummy dash animation, which I still need to change. Oh yeah, I just killed all of my characters. But this is what we have at the moment. So my plan is to just make level 1 and level 5 and level maybe 15 and then level 20, and then have an actual algorithm generate the in-between levels, which may result in a linear level curve, which would be better than what we had in Cats Organized Neatly, because that was neither linear nor exponential. That was just yeah. So I'd like to avoid that this time, so I'm letting the AI overlords hopefully take care of that. We were really trying. While all of this was happening, we were still doing a lot of client work to keep the company afloat. So we were mostly working on this late into the night. We were having our meetings on like long night walks that we took, and we had so many ideas that we were just trying to just And also during this whole time, we had also just launched Cats Organized Neatly and Virtual Cottage, and we and our programmer Yosia had to deal with bug fixes, and then Joseph and me were doing customer support and like learning the ropes of how Steam was working, plus client work, plus this unfinished game called Puzzle Dungeon, which just And the root of our problem, that we were constantly designing around, trying to avoid it. All the levels had to be auto-generated because I didn't want to do level design, Joseph didn't want to do level design. An actual algorithm generate the in-between levels. It was level design. At the end of the year, I finally reached out to my friend Alex, who is a senior game designer and has worked on multiple titles. Yeah, it's also not something that like players grab. Like you have to teach them this is what you have to do, because your first instinct is to go like this and not like this.
Let's see.
The call with Alex finally confirmed what we had thought all along but didn't know how to fix.
Yeah, I think that you're going to want to just make very simple rules for your creatures and make them very constrained creatures, no randomness. Like, no randomness. Like, just make it so that they can take more turns if they want to beat it, that's fine. But don't have it be random, because that makes this very confusing.
One very good piece of advice that Alex gave us was make the levels smaller and the characters simpler to get rid of all of this empty space that you have around.
Right. And in order to do that, you need to go, yeah, sorry, I've already told you what you need to do. You need to do it. So just do that, and then talk to me when you get through that step, and tell me how you're feeling then. Because I think your psychology and feelings will change when you see the non-random, because that's fucking with all of this. The randomness is the biggest problem here. If it was just solve puzzle with different mechanics, that would you'd probably feeling a lot more moralized. It's the movement of the creatures, it's the volume of space, it's the number of entities on screen that is leading. Yeah.
We were trying to juggle too many concepts, and there was just too much randomness going on. Nice. So another morning walk, this time in the snow. Yesterday evening I talked with Alex, and we kind of had to come to the conclusion that we have two different games. The line puzzle, which is more puzzle, which we started out with, and now a roguelike dungeon crawler, whatever thing, that just doesn't fit with what we originally intended. I don't know what to do. And yeah, usually in the past I would stop filming and like just not make videos about prototypes that didn't go anywhere. But this time, because I kind of feel like we have to figure this out, I'm gonna continue filming and hopefully give you a good resolution. Oh god, oh, my hand is freezing off. After breakfast, I also jumped on a call with our friend Julian, which you may know from the Global Game Jam video. He's a tech artist and game designer, and I really wanted to get a second opinion. And I showed him both of our prototypes. He actually really liked the line puzzle one. You know, the one which is simple and easy to understand. I decided to mix Alex and Julian's advice and finally sit down on my ass and build some levels. I think I figured it out. So I tried to focus on keeping the best elements of the two games and just simplifying it down. I now have 3 super simple characters and a couple of levels that are solvable with only 2 characters. So I'm just gonna draw those in Photoshop, and then I have Joseph and Josiah play them. And I think this might be the solution, but that would also mean that I will have to do level design again. So let's see, I might just be, again, like yesterday, I might just be super optimistic and then Joseph plays it and he finds all of the flaws in my gameplay logic. Yeah, we'll keep you updated. I made 5 levels that I had Josiah and Joseph solve. Basically, the characters had 3 stats. They had HP, they had how far they could run, and they had an attack stat. The knight was the only one who had 2 HP, so he could go through one monster. But that whole rule set was very... we couldn't communicate that clearly fast. Like, you had to learn that, and especially for the paper prototype, it was just ugh. What we did is we completely removed the HP, and I tried to make 3 characters with just the how far they could run and how their attack stat. I made 3 more levels, time with the different characters, and those were way too easy. Then Joseph and me went on a 2-hour walk. As you know, it is currently snowing here, which is so nice. And we found this forest path that is like roughly 30 minutes on foot from our house. So we were just wandering through the forest and throwing around game mechanics which was super fun. And we kind of figured out that now the gameplay is at least simple enough that we can polish it and then add more mechanics, which is what we wanted in the first place. So yeah, we're finally where we have something that feels solid and also feels solid that we can make multiple levels. The only downside is that we have to build the levels by hand again, which is what we were designing around in the first place. That is kind of why we ended up with the other two prototypes and none of them kind of felt right. Yeah, what else? I designed one more level, and in that level I packed in a huge enemy that goes over 2x2 squares, so 4 in total. So like all 3 characters have to hit him at some point to kill him, because he has 10 HP. And that level was significantly more difficult. I would say it's medium difficulty, because now the difficulty is also up because it's a paper prototype and you can't, you have to do the math and figure out where everyone gets hit. All 3 of us agreed on that this is the best way to move forward, and I think that also helped the team morale, because yeah, with the first prototype, even though it had some really cool ideas, and we would also need a full-on level and game designer, and we would be very deep in the strategy genre, which we didn't want to be in the first place. At the moment, Josiah is going to build he's going to build one level with merging both of the prototypes. And Joseph and me are going to focus on tidying up everything around interface, level progression, all of that good stuff, which we will eventually need. Yeah. That's kind of it. It was now January and Josiah had changed the level editor in a way that we could actually build the levels that I had done as paper prototypes and play them in the engine with moving the lines and stuff. With the February deadline from the government agency fast approaching, we decided that this was gonna be it. This was gonna be the final design and we were gonna stick with it and just make it work.